Hi guys, this is the Frugal Modeler, aka Peter CP 8748 with another installment for you. This time around I'm talking about Benchwork. This is just a little warning for you guys. It's going to be mostly a rant and a little bit of introduction of how to save money on Benchwork. So if you're going to not like this video, you can put thumbs down, dislike it, whatever you like. I'm not intending to start any type of debate or war with this video. This is just my opinion. One of my pet peeves of the hobby is in magazines and on certain videos and channels, they make Benchwork look pristine, like furniture. You can tell people spend a lot of money on good quality wood to build Benchwork, and to me, if you have the money, go ahead. You want to spend on top dollar and great wood, go ahead and do that. For me, it's just either nonsense and waste of money. Wood is wood unless you're building an O or G scale layout or planning on walking on your layout where it has to support a lot of weight, or you're building modules to great specs in your modular club, or just your layout. If you're doing modules and you're moving your layout around a lot to shows and stuff, then you might invest in great material and better wood for your layout. Me, however, didn't want to spend an obscene amount of money on lumber for the layout, and this is a video mostly for the new modelers. You don't have to spend money on high-grade plywood or dimensional lumber to make a strong layout, especially if you're going to be making a small layout. You actually don't even need to use lumber for layout. Some people now are using, if you're doing an around the room wall layout, a lot of people are using metal shelving brackets directly drilled and screwed into your studs in your walls, and they just lay 2-inch foam insulation on those brackets and build up the scenery that way. If you want to go the more traditional wood method of making your benchwork, I'm going to give you some great tips where you're going to virtually spend little to no money on your benchwork. First step to try to save money on benchwork is getting free wood. So number one thing you can use, believe it or not, is skids or wooden pallets. Number two, reused or reclaimed wood from building sites. So yes, this will require a little bit of you guys driving around to businesses or construction sites and just asking around if there's any lumber that they don't need that you can take and use for your layout. My layout behind me, the 3x8, was actually built out of 2 reclaimed 8-foot pallets, 8x4-foot pallets. Yes, the wood has some knots in it and some light cracking. I tested for structural integrity and it doesn't look pretty, but it's strong enough to hold up my layout. And when you build the benchwork well enough, it's actually nice and secure and will hold up your layout quite nicely. Another thing you can use to save money on your layout rather than using plywood for your base of your scenery and track work is using cardboard. So cardboard in certain situations will make a great underlayment versus plywood, especially if you're making a smaller layout, a modular layout, and I'm only suggesting this for HO scale and N scale and Z scale. Anything heavier like O or G, you probably want to go to more traditional plywood for your base or thick foam insulation. If you are going to use plywood, if you want to save money, don't go for the high-end laminate stuff. Particle board plywood's good enough. You might consider better plywood if you're making your layout like in a basement or in an unheated or cooled, climate-controlled basement or garage. Then you might want to invest in a little bit higher-end plywood. Another thing you can use for most of your layout benchwork or just your top placement is insulation board. So your standard blue or green or pink insulation board comes in any thicknesses from about a quarter inch and up to 3 inches, I believe. Some places will carry 4 inch thickness insulation board. I've actually seen layouts fully constructed out of insulation board for benchwork without any type of wood used for the layout, other than maybe putting it on a tabletop or some brackets off a wall to hold up the main structure. So guys, you don't have to, like I said, you don't have to spend a lot of money to no money if you look around to build your benchwork. If you have to buy wood in the end for your benchwork, don't go and spend top dollar on benchwork material if you don't have the money. Constantly, I see on the Model Railroad magazine in their videos or in their articles where they buy top of the line laminated plywood, they rip it to the sizes they need, and they build the L girder benchwork out of sheets of plywood, or they get top-notch dimensional lumber because they make their benchwork look pretty. If you come down, look to it in a nutshell, benchwork is benchwork. You're probably never going to finish it. If you finish it off with fascia and a layout skirt, you're never going to see your benchwork unless you're making it a vital part of your layout and you want people to see your benchwork and you treat it like furniture. Then yeah, go ahead, spend the money on good wood, but it's just useless. Wood is wood. It will hold its integrity, whether it's top-notch wood or low of the end wood. So my recommendation, if you can find used, free, reclaimed wood or pallets, go to your lumber store, buy the cheapest dimensional framing lumber. So what you want to do is when you go to your cheap lumber section for your dimensional pieces for like 1x2s, 1x3s, 1x4s, 2x4s, look for the stuff that has your knots in it, some cracking, some splintering, if some of it still has bark on it. As long as it's straight enough where it's not warped too much or overly bent, once you collect all the pieces that you need for your benchwork, once you calculate everything, and that's what I want to also emphasize on, is calculate how much material you're going to need for your benchwork, plan out your benchwork for your layout, how you're going to build your benchwork. I'm not going to actually show you how to build proper benchwork because there's a lot of books on the subject, a lot of other videos. This is more on how to save money on your benchwork. So once you get the wood that you need for your benchwork, lumber stores, if you go and talk to a manager or supervisor, they will give you a discount on your purchase depending on how much wood you get, especially if you get wood with imperfections in it. So that's one great way of saving your money. And if you want to go the plywood or another strong top layer over your benchwork, is again use particle board wherever it's allowed, if you have a climate controlled room, or even if you want to use MDF or masonite board, it's usually way cheaper than plywood. Go that route. So I hope this kind of gives you some guys ideas out of the box how to build up your benchwork without spending enormous amounts of money. If this has offended some viewers or you guys don't agree with it, you can definitely leave that in the comments or dislike this video, but please don't slag my opinion or start a flame war. Like I said, this is just my opinion. So when I come back with this video after my rant and spiel, is I'm actually going to show you how what the kind of materials I used for building my benchwork. Alright guys, so this is some of the material I used for my benchwork. As you can see, I used a bunch of 2x4s from the skid from the two skids that I reclaimed. You can see you still have the nail holes in it, the weathering from the elements, some water damage and stuff like that. You can see some splintering and cracking, knots in the wood. In the end, I'm still not finished painting it, but when you paint it black or any other color you want, that all those imperfections are going to disappear. As long as the wood is in decent straight and square condition, it's going to hold up just great. You can see I have bark knots in it. It's not the prettiest thing looking. Again, some exposed bark not finished off, but it's wood. It does what it needs to do. It holds up my layout. And for my underlayment, I used just run-of-the-mill cardboard boxes. I had a few boxes left over in pristine condition not used. So I cut them apart, laid them out, and I layered 3 boxes thick for my underlayment, because like I said, I didn't need anything strong. I needed something light to move my layout if I ever move. And I was never putting my track on just the base cardboard. I was building up foam insulation board, topography, and track underlayment with that rather than the actual cardboard, so I didn't need plywood or anything more heavier to build my subbase. And what I did for my control box shelf is an old 2-shelf little box unit I had laying around the basement. Is what I did. I just crudely cut that in half, and I used a top shelf. The shelf slides in and out, and that's where my control pack is right now. Once I upgrade to DCC, I'm probably going to have my programming track in that shelf that pulls out to program my locomotives. So again, guys, you can see that with free wood that doesn't look the prettiest, you can make yourself some solid benchwork that will hold up your layout and will save you tons of money. Top-end lumber, I don't know how the prices are in the States or in Europe or wherever you guys are from, but here in Canada, top-end laminated plywood, a 4x8 could run you anywhere up to $40-50 a sheet, and top-grade dimensional lumber, even 1x3s or 2x3s, you could be looking at $8 to $10 per an 8-foot length, versus getting your wood for free or spending $1 to $3 per 8-foot length on more cheaper crude dimensional lumber if you have to go that route. So I hope this video for you guys was beneficiary. Again, if it offended some of you guys, I apologize. You can dislike it or not like this video. Like I said, just my opinion. And I'll see you next month's installment, which will basically show you guys how you can use insulation foam board for your landforms mixed with some lattice cardboard work, and how you can actually use 1/2-inch insulation board or 1/4-inch insulation board and save yourself a lot of money by stretching out your material by using it in an out-of-the-box fashion. So I'll see you in that video next month. Thank you for your subscriptions and support. I'll see you in the next video.